presentation natin pag nagpagawa ako sa inyo ng unadjusted trial balance, prepare the adjusting entries, and the adjusted trial balance. So, ganito lang para mabilis, no? Mabilis yung pag-check natin at mabilis din kayong mabilis din yung gawin or i-account yung mga requirements ng problem. Okay? Okay, so what are temporary accounts? No, yung tinatawag nating nominal accounts. No, and bakit sila kailangang i-close? No, so the examples of temporary accounts include revenues and expenses. Tama ba? Diba sinabi natin na at the end of the reporting period, we need to close the revenues and expenses sa account sa income summary. Okay? And eventually, this income summary, i-close natin sa owner's capital. Tama ba? Tama ba? So, what are the steps in closing process? So, identify accounts for closing. So, naituro ko na sa inyo to, no? Mainly, ang kino-close natin are yan, revenues, expenses, okay, and withdrawals. No, although merong iba't ibang accounts kung saan kino-close tong mga items na to, eventually, itong lahat ng items na to is mako-close sa owner's capital. Okay? After mo ma-identify, you should record and post closing entries. Okay, so naituro ko na sa inyo, tama ba? Kung paano mag-close ng expenses, paano mag-close ng revenues, and as well as paano mag-close ng withdrawals. No? And after mo ma-close lahat ng mga temporary or nominal accounts, you can now proceed with the preparation of post-closing trial balance. No? So, what's the purpose of the closing process? Sa tingin nyo, anong purpose kaya ng closing process na to? Well, this is to reset revenues, expenses, and withdrawals accounts balances to zero. So, bago kasi magsimula ang bagong period or bago tayo mag-start ng taon, di ba? Imagine niyo December 31 ang balance sheet date natin, no? Bago tayo mag-start, January 1 next year is this item should be the balances of this item should be zero. So, come January 1 next year, dapat wala tayong nakikita ang mga balances ng expenses, revenues, and withdrawals. Okay? Lahat ito dapat naka-close sa owner's capital. Okay? And of course, no, this is to facilitate us to summarize the period's revenue and expenses. Di ba? Pag niless natin yung revenue, total revenues sa total expenses, we will get the net income or net loss for the year. Tama ba? So, ang pinaka-purpose lang nito is to zero out the temporary or nominal accounts. Okay? Wala dapat makikita mga balances na itong mga accounts na to pag nagsimula tayo ng taon o nagsimula tayo ng operation the following year. Okay? So what are real or permanent accounts naman? So yung temporary, tinatawag din nating nominal accounts. And the permanent, tinatawag din nating real accounts. No? These accounts report on activities related to one or more future accounting periods. So, ang mga items na hindi natin kino-close are assets, liabilities, and owner's capital. No? So, permanent accounts are not closed each period and carry out their balance into future periods. So, hanggat hindi na-zero out itong mga balances nitong permanent accounts na to, i-carry over natin siya into future periods. Okay? So lahat ng asset accounts hanggat may balance, liabilities at owner's capital hanggat may balance yan, makikita at makikita natin yung mga figures na yan or mga items na yan pag sa mga future periods. Okay? Unlike ng temporary accounts, it only relates to one accounting period, no? Or nominal accounts. They include all income statement accounts, yan, revenues and expenses, withdrawals, and income summary. Okay? But these permanent or real accounts, no? So long that they have balances, no? Yung mga balances na yun will be carried into future periods. Okay? So did you get these concepts? Yan, okay? So these are the steps in doing the closing process. Ayan, okay. So close credit balances in revenue accounts to income summary. Tama? Close debit balances in expense to income summary. Okay. Close income summary account to owner's capital and close withdrawal to owner's capital. So, alam nyo na to, no? Dinidiscuss lang natin yung theory part niya. Yeah, do you have any question? Yan. So, expenses, i-close sa income summary as well as for the revenues, no? Di ba sabi natin, pag ang income summary may credit balance, meron tayong net income, tama? Pag ang income summary account may debit balance, meron tayong net loss. So, yung income summary na to, i-close sa owner's capital, tama ba? And lahat ng withdrawals are or drawings, no? Are temporary transactions. So, i-close din yan sa owner's capital. So after having or after providing the closing entries, yan, makikita na natin sa closing trial balance lahat lang ng mga permanent accounts and their balances. Okay, yung tinatawag nating real accounts. And of course, the total debits and credits must be equal. Okay? Yan, okay. So, yan na. Wala na tayong makikitang expenses dyan. Revenues and drawings. So, ito yung natapos natin, no? We have started sa analysis or analysis of transactions. We then proceeded sa journalizing or providing the entries for each transaction, tama? Pagkatapos nun, pinost natin sa ledger. But for simplicity, ang ginawa na lang natin is T account, no, in place of the general ledger. Ganun din naman ang itsura. Nag-prepare tayo ng unadjusted trial balance o yung tinatawag nating pre-closing trial balance. Okay? Ngayon, i-adjust na natin yung mga transactions that require adjustments or i-provide na natin yung adjusting entries for transactions that require adjustments. Tama ba? We prepare the adjusted trial balance. We prepare the other financial statements, no? Income statement, statement of owner's equity. We close the accounts, tama? for us to prepare the post-closing trial balance. Tama? Okay? Mamaya i-discuss natin yung reversing entries. But this process is a optional process. Okay? So what is a balance sheet? Or tinatawag natin din itong statement of financial position. Tama ba? Per IFRS. Per PFRS. No? Yung standard na ginagamit natin dito sa Philippines. No? Current items are expected to come due, collected and owed within the longer of 1 year or the company's normal operating cycle. Ang most of the operating cycles kasi ng entity are 1 year. Okay? But some are less than 1 year. So most companies use a 1 year period in deciding what assets and liabilities are current. No? So, under kasi ng balance sheet, pwede nating i-further classify yung assets natin as current and non-current. No? Pag ang items or ang assets natin is mako-collect mo or expected to come due within 1 year or the normal operating cycle of the entity, whichever is longer, 1 year or the normal operating cycle of the entity, whichever is longer, ika-classify natin yung item na yun as current assets. Okay, for example, yung receivable mo sa balance sheet mo is makokolekta mo in the next 6 months. No? So, ang presentation ngayon nun sa balance sheet mo as of December 31, assuming December 31 ang cut-off mo, at makokolekta mo yun the next year, November next year, so within 12 months yun, tama ba? Tama? So, i-classify mo yung item na yun as current. Okay? Pag ang item na yun will be collected longer than the operating cycle of the entity or longer than 1 year, ang classification natin sa asset na yun is non-current. So for example, meron kang receivable, no, sa isang company, no? December 31, 2020 ang cut-off mo. Meron kang isang receivable na ang expected collection date mo is June 2022. So that means longer than 1 year, no? Or longer than the normal operating cycle of the entity. So since after 12 months mo pa siya makokolect, so ang presentation natin dun sa asset na yun is non-current asset. So most or the concept in classifying current items from non-current items is the company's operating cycle or the 12-month period, no, whichever is longer. Yun ang basis natin. And usually kasi, ang normal operating cycle naman din kasi ng entity is 12 months. No, kung expect mong magagamit mo yung asset na yun within 12 months, it's classified as current assets. Pag more than 12 months, it's a non-current asset. Okay? But most of the time, ang cash, inventory, and accounts receivable, assuming yung accounts receivable walang sinabing or walang additional information kung saan siya makokolekta, silent lang yung problem, most of the time ang cash, accounts receivable, inventory, prepaid expenses, and other similar items are considered as current assets. Okay? Most of the non-current assets include yan, yung long-term investments, yung trading securities, available for sale investments, held to maturity investments, yan. PPE, most of the time non-current assets yan. and intangible assets, no? Ang classification ng mga yan are non-current assets. Okay? So, bear in mind na ang current assets natin are usually the cash and cash equivalents, accounts receivable. Ina-assume kasi natin pag nagbigay ang problem na accounts receivable na accounts sa financial statement is makokolekta mo siya uh, within 12 months, no? Inventory, yan, and supplies are also classified as current assets and prepaid uh, accounts, no? Or prepaid assets. Most often, these are classified as current assets. Okay? May problema dyan? How about for the current liabilities? No? Ganun din, no? Kung ma-expect mong mababayaran yung mga pagkakautangan mo or mga utang mo or mga obligation mo within the 12 months or within the normal operating cycle of the entity, those liabilities will be classified or categorized as current liabilities. So, most often, yung mga accounts payable, accrued expenses, yan, mga pag wala sinabi sa problem kung kailan sila babayaran, i-assume natin na babayaran sila 12 months, within 12 months. And what are the examples of non-current liabilities? Ang non-current liabilities natin, these are also called as long-term liabilities. Yung mababayaran mo siya longer than 12 months, no? So, hindi mo siya i-expect na babayaran within the company's operating cycle. Ibig sabihin, isa-settle mo siya over 1 year or for a period of longer than 1 year. Okay? So, example niyan are notes payable. Tama ba? Mortgage payable and bonds payable. Most of these types of liabilities are classified as non-current assets kasi sinisettle natin to or itong mga types of obligations na to are binabayaran ng company for a period of longer than 1 year. Okay? But just like what I've said, accounts payable and other accrual or accrued expenses, no, are classified as current liabilities. No? So these long-term liabilities, no, yung mga items na to that are not due to be paid within 1 year. Okay? Yun nga, sinasabi ko, mortgage, bonds payable, notes payable, no? Pag hindi sila, these liabilities are not expected to be paid within 1 year, non-current ang classification natin sa kanila. Okay? So sa equity, wala na tayong classification diyan sa current equity and non-current equity. Okay? Ang meron lang tayong classification for current and non-current are assets and liabilities, no? Pagdating sa equity, hindi na required or wala tayong classification kung ano yung mga current equity items and non-current equity items. Okay? Yan ang presentation. Okay? So, current assets, yan. Ayan, sinasabi ko kanina, no? Cash. Short term means within 12 months, makukulit mo yung investments mo. Pag sinabing long term, these items are expected to be collected or to be paid for a period of more than 1 year or longer than the company's operating cycle. Yan. So, example ng mga non-current assets natin are long-term investments, plant assets or yung PPE, and intangible assets. So yung sinasabi ko din sa current liabilities includes accounts payable, wages payable, okay, taxes payable, other accrued expenses. Most of the time, these liabilities are classified as current liabilities. Okay? Pag sinabing notes payable and sinabi namang babayaran siya within 1 year, ika-classify na natin yun as current liabilities. Okay? Pag to be settled with a period of more than 1 year or expected to be paid for a period of more than 1 year, ang classification natin dun is long-term or non-current liabilities. Sabi ko kanina sa equity, wala tayong classification dyan ng current or non-current. Okay? Yan. Current assets are expected to be sold or collected or used within 1 year or company's operating cycle, whichever is longer. Kasi may normal may operating cycle na 13 months kasi or 14 months depende sa company, no? Ang classification natin dun pag ganun or ang treatment natin pag ganun for us to determine which are current from non-current, ang basis natin would be within 1 year or the company's normal operating cycle, whichever is longer. Assuming hindi ang company's operating cycle is not 12 months, no? Whichever is longer tayo. Long-term investments are expected to be held for more than 1 year. Pag more than 1 year na, ang classification natin dun would be non-current assets. Okay? Non-current assets. Plant assets, those are the PPE items. Most of the time, they are classified as non-current assets. No? Kasi magagamit natin tong assets na to for a period of more than 1 year. Intangible assets also are long-term assets. No? Current liabilities, okay, so these are liabilities due within the longer of 1 year or the company's operating cycle. Okay? Pag mababayaran sila within 1 year, current yan. Pag hindi, non-current. For theory purposes lang to, ha? And also, in presentation of the financial statements, kailangan na natin i-present yung mga current assets sa non-current assets. Kasi pwedeng tanungin, magkano ang total current assets, magkano ang total non-current assets, magkano lahat ang total assets. Just like the assets, pwede rin tanungin sa liabilities, magkano ang total current liabilities, non-current, and total liabilities. Of course, the total assets would be the total current assets and non-current assets. Okay? So same computation for liabilities. Ang total natin would be total current liabilities plus the long-term or non-current liabilities. Equity is the owner's claim on the assets. Tama? Dito natin specifically, this represents the ending balance of the owner's capital account. No? Dito natin kino-close ang revenues, expenses, and the temporary account na drawings or withdrawals. Okay, so do you have any question pertaining to these concepts? May tanong ba? Meron man tanong?
Wala po, sir.
Kung wala, tuloy na natin para maaga tayo matapos. Tama ba? Tama ba yun? So, next meeting na natin would be October 19. Ha? October 19. Okay? Sa Tuesday, or sa Thursday, meron kayong graded quiz, no? Simple lang, no? Provide nyo lang yung adjusting entries and prepare the adjusted trial balance. Ganun lang, no? Okay, so wala naman tayong ganun dito, no? Wala naman tayong problem. I have recently uploaded the chapter 3, no? Yung katatapos natin discussion sa adjusting entries. So, alam niyo naman yung link ng ebook natin, no? So, yun lang ang summary, no? Pero kung kailangan nyo pang magbasa, no, read the whole chapter para mas maintindihan nyo yung concepts, no, pertaining to chapter 3. So, hindi natin di-discuss to, no? Medyo ibang topic mo to. Okay? Ibang topic. But, gagawin ko lang, i-present ko lang sa inyo, no? Current ratio helps the company's ability to pay its debts in the near future. No? So, ang computation natin ng current ratio is the total current assets over current liabilities. Okay? Pag nakuha mo yung figure for, pag divide mo, no? Yung assets current sa over current liabilities, ang makukuha mo is current ratio. Okay? As a general rule, pag more than or more than 1 ang current ratio mo is maganda yung maganda yung financial position ng company in paying its debts in the near future. Okay? Ibig sabihin, mababayaran ng company using the current assets yung current liabilities niya. For example, no? Meron ka accounts payable, tama? So, current liabilities yun, tama ba? So, yung current liabilities mo ba is kaya bang isettle ng current assets mo? So, how would you determine? Pag more than 1 or 1 or more than 1 and above yung current ratio mo, it means na the company, no, has the ability to pay its current liabilities. Pag less than 1, ibig sabihin kulang yung current assets niya para bayaran yung buong obligation niya pertaining to the current liabilities. Okay? So as a general rule, pag 1 or more than 1 ang current ratio mo, it means maganda yung or mababayaran ng company yung current obligations niya. Okay? So, tignan mo based from the example, no? So, current year, no? Pag divide mo kasi yung sa current year, 17,317 over 17,495, yan, mas malaki yung liabilities. So, it means na kulang yung assets niya, current assets niya para bayaran yung current liabilities. So, the company cannot pay, no, its obligations in the near future. So, after 1 year, bumaba, tama? From 0.99 naging 0.98, tama ba? And after 2 years, no, ayan, medyo tumaas kasi mas malaki na yung current assets niya kaysa sa current liabilities niya. Okay? So, ang rule natin dito, 1 or more than 1 current ratio, the better for the company. Okay, so our last topic is reversing entries. No? What are the transactions that requires us to prepare the reversing entries? At ano yung purpose nitong reversing entries? No? But sabi nga, these are optional or this is a optional process. No? They are recorded in response to accrued assets and accrued liabilities that were created by adjusting entries at the end of reporting period. No? Ang pinaka-purpose nito is simplify the company's record keeping. So, yung mga adjusting entries mo last year, i-reverse mo lang. Ganun lang, ibig sabihin na reversing entries. No? Let's talk more of how this process is done. Yan. So, assuming, no, meron kang salaries. Na adjusting entry, no? Yan, yung entry mo, debit salaries expense, credit salaries payable. Okay. So, pag without reversing entry, syempre, wala kayo re-reverse, tama? Hayaan mo lang, tama? Kaya nga sinabing it's the optional process. But with reversing entries, kung ano yung adjusting entries mo last year, i-reverse mo lang yung entry. So, ang reversing entry mo dito would be debit salaries payable, credit salaries expense. Okay? Okay, so ito yung ganun niya, no? Effect niya. Pag without reversing entries, di ba? Yan yung entry natin. Yung last year, that pertains to the salaries payable, no? Ang adjusting entry natin kasi, this reversing entries kasi, they are linked to asset and liability account balances that arose from the accrual of revenues and expenses. Okay? The purpose of this is to simplify record keeping. Okay, so to construct proper entries when the cash receipt payment occurs in the new accounting period, the related accrual or deferral adjustment must be recalled and considered. Yan yung adjusting entries natin. Okay? With or without reversing entries used, it will yield the same result. Okay? Para lang alam nyo yung process ng reversing entries. No? Kanina, ito yung adjusting entry natin. Tama ba? Debit salaries expense, credit salaries payable. So, kung option ng company na hindi sila magre-reverse entry, wala tayong gagawin na reversing entries. No? But kung ang policy ng company is to provide a reversing entry, so i-reverse mo lang kung ano yung adjusting entry mo last year. So pag without reversing entries, yan ang magiging entry mo pag binayaran mo yung total liability mo. Yan, yung example natin to, no, last year, the paid, accrued, and current salaries on January 9. Kung matatandaan nyo yung transaction na to. But pag may reversing entries ka, yan, lahat ng i-debit mo is the salaries expense, including yung obligation mo last year. No? O mas na-simplify, tama ba? Mas na-simplify at isang entry lang ang kailangan mo para bayaran lahat ng mga obligation mo last year and the current year. Do you still remember this transaction? Tama ba? Yung sa adjusting entries natin. Okay, so based from this, no, under both approaches, the expense and liability accounts have identical balances after the cash payment on January 9. So sabi ko nga, kahit mag-provide ka ng reversing or hindi ka mag-provide ng reversing entry, it will yield the same result. So ang purpose lang nito is for simple bookkeeping. Okay? Simple bookkeeping. Tapos na tayo, no? The procedure is to transfer the accrued asset and liability account balances to related revenue and expense accounts, creating an abnormal balances in these accounts. No? Okay, so they are prepared after closing entries and dated the first day of the new period. So ang reversing entries ay ginagawa at the beginning of the period. So, yung ginagawa tong reversing entry na to on January 1, 2021. Okay, the following year. Okay? So, these are the effects, no? But, providing reversing entries or not providing reversing entries will yield the same. Okay ba? So, yun lang for this meeting, no? Unless meron kayong mga tanong. Ang next chapter natin, I think, would be the accounting for inventory na, no? If I remember it right, baka accounting of inventory na. Okay? So, next meeting tayo, or sa Thursday, would be simple quiz, no? Quiz on adjusting entries. Yes, no? Sino yung may mga tanong sa atin? Do you have questions?
Sir?
Yes, oh.
Sir, kasama, hanggang saan po ba yung ano po, yung coverage po ng midterm?
Lahat nitong matatapos natin. Baka hanggang chapter 5.
Okay, sige po.
From chapter 1, ito nga, hindi ko pala nasabi, no? Ang quiz nyo would be on a per chapter basis, no? Kung ano lang natapos natin, yun lang isasama sa quiz. But the coverage of your midterm exam will include everything, no? From the topics we have discussed in prelims hanggang itong matatapos natin sa midterm. Okay? Cumulative, no? Isasama natin lahat. Yung
Okay
quiz
po.
nyo lang, yun lang. Okay? Yung quiz nyo lang is, yun lang, yung per chapter lang tayo.
Okay. Sa November pa naman po yun, di ba, sir?
Yeah, oo, matagal pa yun, matagal pa. Siguro mga November, kasi sa calendar natin, yung kung following the calendar ng FEU, mga first week ata ng November, no? Baka sa atin siguro mga second week pa. Okay? Depende
Yung
sa mangyayari.
second week ko po yung midterm natin?
Oo, baka. Oo.
Okay po, sir. Thank you po.
Okay, sige. And next meeting ko pa may papakita yung prelim grade nyo, ha? But I'm going to show lang yung mga top 5, no? Yung grades nyo, kung gusto nyo malaman kung wala kayo dun sa list na ipe-present ko would be on a personal ganun na lang, no? Matter na lang, no? I-text nyo na lang ako or message nyo na lang ako so that I can provide you or show you your grade. Okay? And of course, no, importante to for me to know kung sino pa yung may mga kulang na quizzes or assignments or kulang na mga requirements. Sino pa may mga tanong? Okay, so kung wala na, no? Good day sa lahat. Wala na ba? Good day and we'll see each other again on Monday, hopefully. Walang problema. And Thursday, no? I'll be giving you your first quiz for midterm, no? So ganun ulit, no? Worksheet or Excel file format ang gagamitin natin. Okay, so good day, no? I-send ko tong PowerPoint presentation hopefully mamaya, no? Or i-upload ko mamaya. Okay? So, thank you for your attendance and mag-ingat lagi. Okay? Matanong ko pala kayo, ito lang ba yung major nyo? Wala ba kayong business law? Wala pa kayong law on sales, gano'n? Meron na kayong obligation and contract?
Wala pa po, sir.
So ito pa lang yung pinaka-major nyo. Pero meron kayong mga minor subjects na math, ganun, English and general education.
Meron po, sir.
Ilan?
Ilan ba GED namin?
Meron kayong PE, ganun? Wala namang APPE. Meron kayong physical education na subject?
Meron po, sir.
Ganun?
Pero,
Paano yun?
okay.
Paano ang ganun nun? Mag, magpe-present kayo online, ganun? Pagsasayawin kayo online?
Doon po, sir, sa dance, opo. Isa
Puta.
parang ano po, pero hindi po kasi ako napasok doon, sir.
Tama yun. Okay. Biro lang. Okay. Pumasok ka, syempre. Okay. Pero, putres na yan. No?
May ano naman po kasi, sir, nung nakalagay po doon sa FLJ, pag natapos daw po yun, pag nagawa niya daw po yung lahat, kahit naman daw po hindi na pumasok doon sa PE.
Okay. Pero, nakaka-amaze ha. Pagsasayawin kayo online. No? Ayos, no? So, meron din kayong siguro, no? Mga Filipino subjects, no? Sigurado yan.
Meron po, wika
So,
at kultura.
yan, no? Ewan ko, mga ganun lang yan, no? Ah, mga sagabal, no? Kaya biro lang, no? Hindi, kasama yan sa requirements, no? Okay, so, yun, no? But, time management pa rin, no? Mag-allot kayo ng time na mas marami for your accounting or major subjects, no? Kasi
Yes
eventually
po,
yan
sir.
yung kasama sa qualifying exam, no? Wala kasi sasama na qualifying exam na pertaining sa minor subjects, no? So a lot more time pag nag-study kayo sa mga major subjects nyo, okay?
Yes po.
Okay, so yun lang, no?
Sir, nagtuturo din po
Eh,
ba kayo ng Oblicon?
hindi, mga abogado lang ang mga qualified lang na magturo nun are CPA lawyers or lawyers. Okay?
Okay po. Sige po.
Bawal ang CPA lang. Okay? Kasi alam ko ganun Oo. Dapat pero pag tax pwede CPA lang, CPA. Or pag tax naman kasi ang alam ko is dapat either CPA lawyer or CPA. Ano ba? Mga ganun. Pero pag law talaga, hindi ka qualified magturo pag CPA ka lang. Okay? You need to be a lawyer. Tama? Or CPA lawyer. Mas maganda pag CPA lawyer kasi at least alam mo yung computation and other legal matters pag may mga issues, no? Requiring the jurisdiction of court, no? Mga korte, mga court of tax appeals, yan. May matters na hindi lang mga theory, no? Yung mga affected or mga situation. Hindi lang puro computation kasi ang tax matters, okay? So, yan, kung gusto nyo, maging after ng accounting, no, CPA, mag-take up kayo ng law para 10 years from now, no, maging at least CPA lawyer kayo. Tama?
Yes
Pero ako,
po.
hindi na. Okay na ako. CPA, okay na. Kasi pag CPA lawyer kasi, mamimili ka kung ano yung ipapractice mong profession. Hindi mo pwedeng pagsabayin yun full-time basis, no? Hindi mo pwedeng pagsabayin na CPA ka and lawyer ka at the same time. No? Mamimili ka talaga kung ano yung ipapractice mo. So, mas malaki pa rin advantage kasi pag CPA lawyer, no? Kaysa sa CPA lang, okay? Pero parehas lang naman, no? Parehas, diskarte lang naman, no? Sa actual work, no? Pag nagtrabaho ka na mismo, no? Diskarte na kung paano mo i-build yung career mo dyan sa work mo or sa profession mo. Okay?
Opo, sir. Thank you
So,
po.
yun lang, no? Ang dami kong kwento, no? Putres, no? So, yun lang. And we'll see each other Monday. I-upload ko yung quiz nyo by Wednesday night, no? You can take it hanggang Friday siguro ng 11:59, okay? Ng gabi. Okay? So, thank you and
Thank you din po, sir.
maraming salamat sa lahat.
Thank you po.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you po.
Thank you po, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you po.
Love you, sir.
Okay.